Happy Tuesday, Run Tribe Bike community, and welcome to the Fiery Embers show. Now, this podcast is not a show that will have you getting tips on getting fitter or faster in endurance sports. Instead, you'll probably learn which pastry is the best to eat after a long run, and even that's going to be debated. Today, I'm joined by a friend who shares a name with a lesser known actor, that being Ryan Reynolds. Now, we have featured Ryan on our site a couple of times from his story of losing weight to running marathons. And we've been engaging with each other probably close to a year now on Instagram and Threads. And it's been fantastic. So I'm thrilled to have him come on the show. But before I bring Ryan on, check out the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network on your favorite podcast platform. We have 8 shows, which means we have something for everyone, from music to food to human interest stories of the everyday athlete overcoming obstacles to reach their finish line. We have it there. So when you do find that podcast, the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network, make sure you subscribe, rate, and review. Now let's welcome Ryan to the show. Hey, buddy, how are you?
I'm good. How about you, man?
I'm excited. I'm fired up. It's 2:30 on the West Coast, and I just got done lifting at the gym, so I'm also very sore at this point.
Hey, that's good though. That'll put you in a good mood mentally, and I think that soreness is a good thing. It's that it kind of reminds you what you're doing, right?
100%, 100%. And like I posted on Threads a little while ago, I'm glad I ate a big lunch because lifting the fork later tonight, it might not be so easy.
There you go.
All right, dude. So because this show is not about how to get fit fast, how to hack your way to success, it's about having fun and laughing. My very first question for you is, in a foot race, who is winning, you or a kimono dragon?
Oh my gosh. You know what? I'm just going to default that the kimono dragon will beat me. I would assume as a human being, I'm not the fastest human being. So I don't know, like the kimono dragons are a little bit intimidating too, I think maybe.
Yes.
So I'd probably just be like, all right, hey, you know what? You have this one. I'll just hang back here, middle of the pack where I'm used to, and you just take off. So I don't know how fast. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe they're slower than I could imagine, but I would assume outside of like a snail, I'm not going to beat too many animals in a foot race.
I'll have to look it up. But my thinking always is, if it's got 4 legs, it's probably beating me in a race.
It's true. And then they'll probably like move very, they'll scoot. I can't scoot. I just sort of shuffle,
Nah, you don't shuffle, dude. I've seen those TikTok videos. There's no shuffle there. Get out of here.
Yeah.
All right. I've been saving this for quite some time. For those of you who are listening on the podcast, I'll have to explain it to you, but I'm about to show Ryan a picture, and I'm going to ask him which of these people he most connects with and why. The picture is of 3 Cardinals from the mid-'80s, Ozzie Smith, Willie McGee, and Vince Coleman. Which of those 3 do you associate the most with and why?
All right. This is perfect. I'm not Vince Coleman. Vince Coleman can fly. I can't do that. Ozzie can flip. I definitely cannot do that. My daughter can flip all over the place. I fall all over myself. It's easily Willie McGee. I'm biased. He's one of my favorite baseball players of all time. So that's number 1. But 2, I love Willie. He's a little awkward. He kind of has like an awkward, way he walks around. That's me. I am awkward, but I can be graceful at times. Willie had that catch in, was it game 3 of the World Series or whatever it was back in the day. I wasn't born then, but I've seen the highlights. So when I saw that picture, I'm like, man, Willie's front and center. I'm going Willie. 51's my favorite number because of Willie McGee. So there we go. That's perfect.
Oh, that's perfect that his picture wound up straight up in the middle of it all,
yeah.
too. So when you said Vince Coleman can fly, I thought, I agree with you 100%. I didn't realize you were talking about his speed. As a Mets fan, I was like, yeah, that dude can go fly. The Mets spent a lot of money on that guy, and he stunk up the joint for them.
He did. It was, he didn't get in trouble off the field or something there too. Yeah, well,
throwing firecrackers.
That's what it was.
In the tarp,
yeah,
it was terrible for the Mets.
Yeah, the thing I'll give him though, because this is like, again, it was right around the time I was born. But when he ripped off 3 straight 100 stolen base seasons right off the top, and I'm just like, as a baseball fan, I would do anything to see people steal 100 bases like it's nothing, and that dude did it in his first 3 years. So yeah, but no, I'm with you because he didn't live up to the hype with the Mets. He's one of those guys that the Whitey Ball era in St. Louis, he was perfect, and then after that, it was kind of a mixed bag.
I gotta be honest. I'm going into my memory bank and trying to think of a team that I hated more ever than the mid-80s Cardinals, and one does not pop up. Even the Atlanta Braves for whipping
Yeah.
the shit out of the Mets constantly,
Yeah.
still that doesn't exceed the hate I had it for the mid-80s Cardinals. I mean, from Tommy Herr to Terry Pendleton to Joaquin Andujar to Bruce Sutter to those 3 guys, Willie, uh, Vince, and Ozzie Smith, like, all of them. I just hated all of them. Tommy Herr the most,
Yeah.
right?
Just the
This
fluffy hair.
this second baseman who's hitting like 260 and driving in
Oh, yeah.
100 runs constantly. It's
Yeah.
like, what is happening?
That team couldn't hit home runs. They just would just
No,
like murder the ball to the gap and then just run for days. Like it's so funny because I grew up in the 90s when like, home runs in the steroid era and the Mark McGwire Cardinals were in. I much would prefer baseball like the 80s Cardinals, like fast and furious and all over the place. And I get it though. Like it's funny. I still there are Cardinals fans that do not like the Mets. Like when I hate to bring this up, I apologize, but when they met in '06 in the NLCS, I was 20 then. I had grown up kind of in the Cubs, obviously the Astros and the Cardinals had some beef. The Mets thing was kind of outside of my view, and I learned all about it during that series. And it's great. I love it, and I kind of miss like that old NL East before they split it up
yeah,
into 3 divisions when you had the Cardinals in there and the Mets and the Braves and all. Like it's yeah, that it's I get why baseball had to do it, but you kind of lose out on a rivalry that way.
100%. As a Puerto Rican baseball fan, I love Carlos Beltran, but dude, just
Yeah,
take the bat off your shoulder. I don't care if you miss that ball by 1,000 feet.
yeah.
You can't watch that pitch, but that shows you how good Wainwright's pitch was. It
That
just froze him.
the best curveball I've ever seen in my life. I know it probably still, but like I had surgery that day, no joke, and I was watching. I had a head wrap, and I'm watching that pitch, and like after it happens, I just like put up my hands. I'm just like I cannot believe what I just saw with that pitch, and I'm with you. Like Beltran in '04 with the Astros, and then '06 with the Mets, he had the Cardinals number, and then for that to go down that way, that was brutal.
I mean, anytime you can freeze a Hall of Fame hitter
It's
like that,
true. Yep.
that just tells you how good of a pitch that
Oh,
was.
it's crazy. Yeah, and then he comes to St. Louis and he was great too. And I got a whole new appreciation for him there because it's one of those things. It's like when the enemy joins your team, it's like,
Yep,
okay, all right, I can appreciate this guy now. But you're right. It's someone that can hit the ball that well to get frozen. It's just there's not too many curveballs that can do that.
it's amazing. So I know you're we're gonna stick with sports here. I know you're
Mm-hmm.
an IndyCar fan,
Mm-hmm.
IndyCar racing fan. I'm not much, so your answer I'm just gonna applaud and say yes to. But which driver would play you in a movie about your running journey?
Oh, that's a good question. Let me think here. I'm trying. I think I'm gonna say, and again, kind of biased like Willie McGee. Connor Daly is one of my favorite drivers, and I'll give you a little bit of background without going too far down the road. So he's never won an IndyCar race, but he is well liked by fans. Now, I'm not saying that about myself, but I think I'm a likable guy. However, what I will say is he's from Indy, which I am not, but um, a lot of my races that I have done are in Indy, and he does so well at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, which is where my first half marathon was. That's Connor Daly's the guy, and it's one of those things where his stats may not rank up there with the best of all time, but he does what he does and he loves it, and he just keeps coming back for more. So that's Connor Daly is my answer.
We're gonna tag him in this video when we post it to Instagram because with all the pull we have, maybe we can get you and Connor Daly to meet up.
I'll tell you, hey, he's got a podcast of his own. He does well interacting. He's interacted with me on Threads before, so he
There you
might
go.
he might. You never know.
And he's gonna see Ryan Reynolds. He's gonna think, hey,
Yeah,
I got to connect with this guy.
yeah, for sure. He'll be disappointed when he sees my face, but that's okay. The name brings people to the table, right?
Not, I'm not shitting you, dude. One of our highest viewed pages on our website is Ryan Reynolds Run the search,
Yeah,
and because the people are thinking obviously it's the actor, and they
yeah.
find your article on our website and they open it up.
That's great.
It's
That's great.
hilarious.
If I can drive traffic, I'll help. I'm happy to help in any way.
All right, dude. I love food. I love talking about food.
Mhm.
So let's debate. Is a gyro a sandwich or is it a burrito?
Ooh, I think I go burrito on that. I think that's where I land. I'm not one of those like hard and firm guys on the rules when it comes to food like that, like hot dog, a sandwich, things like that. But I think it shares enough qualities with a burrito that's what I would lean toward. Plus, burritos are one of my favorite foods, so I mean, I will just not that I don't like sandwiches, but I keep saying my favorites here, but it's true. Like you're hitting them all. You're hitting them all as we're talking. So burrito is my answer.
I would love to give credit to my in-depth research, but I just love talking about this stuff, and it just happens that you like it too, so I'm
It's
on the
perfect.
roll.
That's why we connect so well.
Exactly. So you mentioned a hot dog being a sandwich, so you don't think it's a taco then?
Oh, see, I just think it's a hot dog. I think it has a name. It has its own name. So we must classify it in its own category.
Oh, if that's the rules, then a hamburger can never be considered a sandwich, but it is a sandwich. It's meat between 2 slices of bread.
Yeah, that's fair. See, now we're getting into the edge cases. I'm in software. We always talk about edge cases. So now we're in the edge case territory here.
Let me ask you this. What do you call a pizza? Do you call it a pie or do you just call it pizza?
I call it pizza. I've
Okay.
always called it pizza. Yeah.
So I'm from New York and we call it a pie,
Hmm.
right? Because by definition, it's a pie, right? An apple pie has a crust, it's got apples in the middle, and you're good, right? And so pizza has a crust, it's got tomatoes in the middle, and it's got a topping with cheese. And so when I go to a place, I'm like, oh, let me go get a pie. We're gonna go get a pie. But I think that just might be like a Northeast thing. Have you heard of any other place calling it a pie?
I don't think so. I think when I've seen it call, it's one of those things where I just don't. If I were to try to call it a pie myself, like it just doesn't sound because I've not grown up saying it. I've not grown up, So no one around here that I know. If they do, it's kind of that like not really tongue in cheek, but just I don't say this very often, but I'm saying it in a way that I'm talking about pizza instead of like a pie from the bakery down the street or whatever. So, but yeah, most around here. It's like, yeah, we're just gonna order pizza. Let's go get pizza. It's never a pie.
Where are you getting the pizza from? Pizza restaurant? What do you call it?
Uh, Usually just call it by the name.
Okay.
If anything, like the pizza place,
Yeah.
that's usually kind of what we do. But like we have a restaurant here in town called Pizza Man. This is one of my favorite pizzas around, and so it's like, yeah, I just order from Pizza Man or whatever. But yeah, if anything, it's just like you want to order a pizza, and then we'll just say the place.
Because again, growing up in New York, I called it a pizza joint. Like, yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah,
go get a pie from the pizza joint, right? And you just knew in your neighborhood what the pizza joint was. Like you didn't have to think about it.
that's true. Yeah.
I mentioned this to John Gray, who is the Pretty Neat Performance founder, and he just started laughing because he's like, I'm not cool enough to use the word joint. And I'm like, yeah, it does also add a little bit of different meaning to it when you're like pizza and joint. As a 13-year-old, I've got the munchies. I'm going to get the pizza joint.
You're right.
So you mentioned burritos are one of your favorite things to eat.
Mhm.
What's your favorite filling in a burrito?
Uh, I that's a good man. I like it all. That's why I do it. I will say rice. I could eat rice all the time. Like brown rice. I eat it every day for lunch. I know that's like very plain now that I'm saying it out loud because I do like the veggies. I like the you get the little sauteed veggies in there, the onions and the peppers, but I could eat rice I literally every meal. And so I think that's probably why I like it so much is like you put a little rice in there and then you build your base off of that with everything else. So yeah, that's rice is the answer there.
We do this show live, and every now and again we get some hilarious comments from YouTube. And one of them that's up there right now is from GG John, and he's calling you the bootleg Ryan Reynolds.
I mean, it's fair. I can't deny that. Well, yes, I will say for the Ryan Reynolds you are thinking of, but for the people in my life, I'm just the Ryan Reynolds. So he's the Aldi brand to them. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. So help me understand this. Like as you're growing up, right? I
Hmm.
can't imagine how big of a hit he was yet. But then when he does become, this mega superstar with,
Hmm.
you know, Deadpool and all these other movies and tequilas and telephone companies
Hmm.
and everything else he's got under the sun. Like when do you start getting emails and like calls and friends ripping on you for having the same name?
I would say it was probably after like Deadpool shot him into the stratosphere when I was younger. So without getting too detailed in the story, I was in grade school when he was on Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place. I don't know if you remember that show. It was on ABC. He played a character called Berg, and I remember there was a girl that was in my class. We were friends. We were hockey fans. I was a Blues fan. She was a Red Wings fan. So they had a big rivalry back in the 90s. And so we would always give each other a hard time about that. But anyway, she started calling me Berg for a while. So that was kind of where he was. And then that show got canceled. He went away for a little bit. And then he started popping up. You know, he was in Blade Trinity. He was in Waiting. So then it was kind of cool. It was like, here's this guy. These movies aren't massive, but he's making movies. And it was cool to go to a movie with him in it. I like those movies, you know, and I'm like, that's awesome. It was after the Deadpool thing where that's when I remember I worked at a company for 13 years. I had been there for, I don't know, 10, 11 years. And I had known this one guy like the whole time he had worked there. And one day just randomly he came up and he told me, he's like, I loved you in Deadpool. I'm like, come on, man. Like, you have known me long enough. Like, you could have used that joke forever ago. You could have used a 1,000 different references. So that's the thing. I really don't mind it because it was one of those things where he could be in a ton of crappy movies. He could be one of those
Right.
people that, you know, or who knows with what goes on. Like, he could be one of those people that gets kind of pushed outside of our society for doing something not so great. So I will take that. It's just, I love it when people give me references that aren't down the middle. Like, if you throw out an RIPD reference, I will applaud you. If you throw out a Two Guys, a Girl, a Pizza Place reference, I'm more than happy to entertain the thought. So yeah, but it really, I don't mind it. It's the only thing. One more story. Sorry. One other funny story is one time I ordered, talking about food, I ordered food on an app and I went to pick it up in the drive-through. And the lady was like, I think it's just so funny how you put your name as Ryan Reynolds in the app. And I'm like, it's my name. That's my name. Like, I
Here's my
didn't,
credit card.
yeah, I didn't do it for giggles. Like, I was named that in 1986 and I've gone by it ever since. He just became super famous in the time that I've been alive. So yeah.
I can only imagine, like, when you make hotel reservations and
Yeah.
the person at the front desk is like, "Oh, Ryan Reynolds is coming here," and then you show up.
Yep. There's always a little bit of the light that goes out of their eyes when they see me, and they're like, we had hope. I've had people flat out tell me, like, well, we knew it was a long shot. And it's like, well, still got me. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I'm going to be a cordial guest. I'm not going to give you any problems,
Right.
but yeah.
Can I get the amenities that he would get for free?
That's right. There you go. Give me everything, just all the stuff, all the free food, all the whatever, the free bar, whatever you got.
You mentioned the Blues and the Red Wings, and immediately my brain went to Brett Hull and Steve Yzerman.
Mm-hmm.
Like, those two guys played forever. And then I remembered Dino Ciccarelli, who played for the Red Wings until he was, what, 78 years old? Like, that
Something
guy
like that.
played forever.
Yeah.
Like, so as a Blues fan, like, are hockey players still hanging around as long as those three guys were? Or even, remember Lanny McDonald from the Flames? That guy played till he was like 70 years old
Had the
too.
big mustache too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I there's a couple. So the Blues finally won the Stanley Cup in 2019. They played the Boston Bruins. The Bruins captain at the time was Zdeno Chara,
Zdeno
and he
Chara,
played into his early 40s. He's actually retired, but he runs marathons now, which is awesome. He is literally like 6'7" without skates.
yeah.
He was almost 7 feet tall. So there's some of them. I'll tell you, it's crazy. Like, because I'm with you. Whenever I was younger, you know, you get a guy in his early 30s and he's going to retire. Because right now you get guys like signing 3 or 4 year deals at 37
Yeah.
in hockey and all sports. But yeah, hockey, it's like, as long as people stay relatively clear injury wise, they can fly around forever. So these guys, I think it's a lot of like the mobility stuff and the things that kind of keep them sharp, that they're able to, kind of like what Tom Brady did, right? Like,
Yeah.
just keep yourself loose and you can go for a long time now.
LeBron just turned 40, and I
Crazy.
watched the Starting Five on Netflix. I don't know if you've seen that yet.
I haven't yet. It's on my list.
Yeah, it's a good series, but they show the things that he's doing to stay in shape and stay active, and the mobility work and the flexibility work. And it's like, yeah, these guys are doing this shit. They're playing for into their 40s. And we got everyday athletes like you and I that are like, meh, I don't need to do any strength work or core work, and then we're like, why did I get hurt?
Yeah. Just a couple stretches here, and then I'll go out for 5 miles. Yeah.
Like, and especially hockey, right? Like, that
Mhm.
is a physical sport. You're getting hammered, checked left, right, and center, sticks to the face and whatnot. And yet these guys were playing into their, late 30s, early 40s. And it's amazing. Like, How old is Crosby? He's got to be in his mid to late 30s by now.
Yeah, so I remember this only because A, he's a year younger than me. B, the reason he wears 87 is because he was born on 8/7 of 87. So he's what? That put him at 37 now. So which is and Ovechkin, I think, is like a year older than me. So to be sandwiched between those two,
Yeah,
and those guys, I feel like could probably play a couple more years. I mean, Ovechkin's going for the all-time goal record, which is like unthinkable 20 years
unthinkable.
ago. But now, I mean, he's right there. It's amazing. And it's one of those things, like whenever you see the numbers pop up, like he's got so many goals to go until he breaks it. It's not even a question. You just like, even though he's nearing 40, it's like this dude's gonna do it. He's just automatic still.
So when you watch these guys playing all of these sports, and you do you ever think to yourself, like before a run, or to warm up or cool down afterwards, like, do those guys ring a bell to you, or you're just in your own world and you're like, yeah, I'll do my stretching here and there, and keep moving forward?
Most of the time, I'm kind of just in my own world, although I know that they're there for a reason, and I probably should. To your point about, like stretching in the core and stuff like that, like I'm dealing with a back thing right now, and it's probably because I haven't worked on my core enough. I haven't done enough stretching and strengthening and stuff. I'm getting there. I'm trying to get that way, but no, I think it's one of those things where compared to where I was 10 years ago, I that's more the world I'm in, where I'm like, I would have never done anything close
Yeah.
to this. um, but yeah, I probably, when you see those guys doing those, all the male and female athletes like doing these like balance exercise, I'm like, yeah, that I could probably do that. It'd probably make life a lot better, a lot easier for me in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I turned 51 about a month ago, and I've been doing core strength and balance work, I don't know, for a decade now. And it's such an amazing help because you're working all the little tiny muscles in your ankles and your feet and your
Mhm,
calves. And it takes like 10, 15 minutes, right? Like
mhm,
I get the glory is in the long run,
yeah,
but to get to the glory in the long run, you got to do like the little bits. And if you think about it, running is a one-legged sport, right?
mhm,
Try running with both feet on the ground.
yeah,
It
yeah.
just
You're,
doesn't
you're
work.
hopping, you're hopping at that point.
Right. So I said this wasn't a show for tips or tricks. Well, I lied. Here's your one tip. Get out there and do some stretch work. All right, man. You get to watch one professional sport for the rest of your life. What's it going to be and why?
Oh man. All right. Let's see. This is tough. I think my answer is going to be soccer, football, soccer. I love it, number one. But number two, they play forever, year round. And here's this is the caveat here. Uh, you have the 9-month schedule, so Europe, you're usually playing August to May. Here in North America, they play from like March to November or December. So it's like you don't have the doldrums in the summer. You've got leagues going on. They've got tournaments. They've got cups. You got the promotion relegation. I got everything I need right there. Although that hurts me very much because I watch. I mean, I bounce from sports every single night. Last night I had WWE on, which but also the NBA. Tonight I'm watching hockey. A couple weeks I'll be watching auto racing. And when that all starts back up, so
And,
I'm all over the map.
and
And
in a
football
few
this
weeks,
past
you'll
weekend
have
too.
pitchers and catchers reporting, so you'll have that going on too.
And that too, and that's the thing. It's like you get to baseball, and then it's just there every day. It's like the reliability of baseball. So to leave all that behind hurts me very much. But it's a very strategic answer why I picked soccer there.
I love it. You got to think about this stuff real clear before
Yes.
you just spit out an answer. Um, all right, so we got a few more minutes left. I told you I was scrolling through some pictures looking for an image to post when we share this on Instagram and Threads, and I came across a picture of a basketball player from the Midwest. And so the question is, best basketball player from the Midwest to ever play is?
Uh Larry Bird. Very simple.
Yes!
Yeah. He an hour from here. Terre Haute is just down the road. Indiana State. Like you go into Terre Haute, Larry Bird. I grew up. That's my dad didn't have a team, but he just liked Larry Bird because he was from the area, right? And he went to see Larry Bird play the Pacers, like one of the last couple years that Larry was his back was ailing him and all that stuff. And yeah, I mean, it's just Larry Bird is just, and the great thing about it is I feel like his legend just grows as time goes on. And he's been associated with the Pacers. So as a Pacers fan,
Yeah.
I don't know that I said that, but as a Pacers fan, he's been around. And like, there's even stories about him even as an executive, he'd get in a 3-point shooting contest with dudes on the team, and he beat them because he's Larry Bird. So yes, it's Larry Bird hands down.
It's not even close. Like,
Yeah,
it shouldn't be close. Nobody should be debating this whatsoever when it
yeah,
comes to the best basketball player from the Midwest.
yeah. And
One of my
it's sorry, real quick, and it's true like Midwest too, from like a town in the middle of nowhere, goes up, tries, was going to go to Indiana, didn't work out, ends up in Terre Haute, Indiana at Indiana State, like a sycamore, right? What's a sycamore? I mean, a tree, but like who follows the sycamores outside of that? And anyway, so yeah, that's the most Midwest thing ever.
plus his town is French Lick. Like, come
Yeah,
on, man.
yeah,
Like, it just doesn't get much better than that.
yeah.
Some of my favorite things to do is like once every 4 to 6 weeks, I end up on YouTube searching for Larry Bird trash talking. And it is some of the best stories you've ever heard.
Oh,
Gary
it's great.
Payton telling stories, Dominique Wilkins telling stories, Byron Scott telling stories of what a shit talker Larry Bird was. And they are some of the funniest stories I've ever heard.
Oh, and that's there. And then because Gary Payton is a renowned, trash talker in his own right. But to give props to Larry Bird, like that just shows you, and all of them too. But like Gary Payton, especially, like when I was growing up, Gary Payton was the guy that was like yapping at everybody, So that's like high praise to be able to say that about Larry Bird.
Yeah, for our Gen Z, millennial, Gen A folks who are watching or listening to this, the Bryce Young touchdown pass yesterday where he throws the ball and he turns around, puts his hands in the air before the pass is caught, or Steph Curry shooting and turning around and walking away before the ball hits the rim or goes through the net. That was not started by those guys. There is a video of Larry Bird at the 3-point contest shooting the ball. It barely left his hand, and he walks away with his finger in the air, right? And he's like, it's in. And it's amazing to watch. Like, that dude, he was just phenomenal. So much fun.
I can't imagine being so good at something that like the moment you do it, you just know that it's going the way you intend it to go. You're that good at it. Like, all right, hand up, I'm walking off. Like, because you imagine, like, there's memes of people doing that, and then the ball like clanks off the back, and Larry Bird is just the exact opposite. He is the exception to the rule there.
My imposter syndrome will never allow me to do something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, 100%. I'd like check about 4 or 5 times. That did go in, right? Like it's
Yeah.
that was an accident. Yeah.
You're looking on the big screen on the way out, turn around,
Yeah.
freaking out. Oh, no. Well, dude, thank you so much for joining me on our Fiery Ember show. This is a blast. I hope you've had fun.
It was great.
This will be up on our YouTube channel and our website here in a few days. And folks, you can grab it on podcast. Make sure when you listen to it on podcast, you subscribe, rate, and review to the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network while you're there, because it allows us to continue to bring on great guests like Ryan. So thank you very much, everybody. Ryan, thank you so much. Hope that back heals up and you're out there running here soon enough.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for having me. This is great.